Welcome to Social Dynamics. I'm Sarah Stockham, and I'm super excited today to have Kathy Tree on as a guest. And Kathy has just completed the soul journey, and I invited her on for us to be able to have a conversation about that. But before we get started into that part of it, Kathy, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, I'd be happy to. Well, let's see. I live in the Los Angeles area, and I was raised Baptist, broke away from that, and have been pretty much on a self-directed spiritual journey. Not doing too bad, but not really making it either. Anyway, I met Christy about 3 years ago, and she met Elaine and Danielle and then told me about it and invited me to the transformative gathering. So that's kind of how I got my step into this group. And from there I found Soul Journey, which has just completely been, day and night for me.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's kind of my background as far as getting into to Soul Journey.
Beautiful. And I will just share with the listeners, I know that the listeners, for so many of you, you have come from a religious background and that you have been on a spiritual quest. And so this soul journey is for absolutely anybody. And the whole idea here is that we move into a place where we're able to have conversations with God. And I completely am excited about what you're going to share, but I also, when you talked about coming from a structured background, that's absolutely part of my story as well, and how coming into the space of taking the soul journey for me truly changed my prayer life, truly changed my conversations with God. And so knowing that for myself, I would love for you to share, as you came into Transformative, which is a Sunday gathering, and you began to listen to the people who were sharing there, and then you chose to come into the soul journey. We'd just love for you to share a little bit about maybe the before and after for you, or the pieces of this that you have found to be absolutely the most transformative in your life because you chose to take the soul journey.
Yes. Well, first of all, I left the formal religion that my family was when I was very young. And I was involved with Self-Realization Fellowship. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization, Paramahansa Yogananda.
Mm-hmm.
And so I raised my kids pretty much in that environment. And that was amazing because they taught us about many of the same things that Elaine and Danielle teach, and got me meditating. And the man I married had been meditating for, most of his life. And so I really had a transition. It was a slow, long process for me. But doing the soul journey, I think the biggest thing was just finding the guidance that I needed through Elaine and Danielle. And then they teach you in soul journey techniques that are designed to move you through this transformative process. And they're techniques that you take with you and that you continue to use. So as long as you commit to yourself to do the work, you'll see change. And so when I say day and night, for me, it's like I'm still kind of going through the process. I'm in the middle of a septogram right now, and actually more toward the end of it. So things start coming up, really just catching me by surprise sometimes. Energy clearing out and rising up so you can take care of it. So that's been a little difficult, but I'm glad it happened because I'm able to work through it. But I think the thing that I like the most about the soul journey is just the 7 layers, the insights that you gain, the tools that you get to carry through your everyday life. And that's been the most valuable for me.
I think that in the process, I absolutely agree that things come up in order to be acknowledged, to be looked at from different eyes, because now that you have different tools based on practical spiritual wisdom that is from my perspective, so often deeply spiritual, not just a little fluff across the top, right? But these deeply spiritual practices. And I love that Ella and Danielle have a different way of being able to explain things that I've heard explained similarly so many different times, and then to hear it be so different and yet
Yeah.
makes so much sense. So the idea of that the renewing of our mind is really about creating new connections in our mind, right? Finding new neural pathways and breaking the old ones up so that the old ways that we used to think, that the neuroplasticity in our brain allows us to be able to create new ways of thinking and looking so that we have a new outlook on life. So as you think about that a little bit in the vocabulary and pieces of that, I know that you talked about tools. Is there an example in your life that you can kind of give, Kathy, of a before and an after? And on social dynamics, you can share as deeply as you wish or as surface as you wish. But I would love for you to share a little bit, at least in one area of your life, that you have seen a transformation from this is me before the soul journey and this is me after the soul journey.
Before the soul journey, I was dealing with, I had a strong internal struggle, and I was feeling despair even at times. And because I tend to be positive, I try to overcome. I just like, it was almost like putting a Band-Aid on things, like, oh, I can do this. I'm going to overcome this. And I just kind of put on this vibrato, this, plow through it. And but then usually when I can't sleep at 2 and 3 in the morning, I'd wake up and I'd be in a little panic. I'd be, this stuff would hit me because your defenses are not up. And so and I had been, like I said, on the self-directed spiritual journey, and I had done a lot of work. I'd read everything I could get my hands on. I was meditating 2 and 3 hours a day. I mean, I was doing everything that I knew to do, but I was floundering because I didn't have direction and I didn't have the tools. I mean, I knew how to meditate, which was a tool, and I was reading, but nothing really pulled it all together. So I'd read this and then I'd read that, and then I'd read, and it was all good stuff, but it wasn't just one thing saying, okay, this is how you do it. And so that's what I got with Soul Journey. And so probably the biggest thing that affected me was just that I don't feel panicked. I had a green soul attack over the weekend, so I can't say I never feel it anymore, because I had some stuff really come up for me over the weekend. And apparently that's just what happens with these programs, is this, you can't deal with it if it doesn't come up and show its face. And unfortunately I had a green soul reaction instead of a blue soul reaction. But it was good. I went through it. I used the tools that I was given to apply, and I learned, and I think I'm better prepared so that if it happens again, and it will, that I can handle it better.
So 2 things. One, I heard you say that before the soul journey, that sleep at times was elusive. And what I'm hearing you say, that after the soul journey, that you are having deeper and more peaceful sleep. Am I putting words in your mouth?
You're putting words in my mouth. No, I am not.
Okay.
But I'm making better use of the time when I am waking up in the middle of the night. I have lots of things that I can do, conversations with God. I have my insights. I have more meditation, just journaling in general. One of the things that came out of this past weekend, I don't know if you recall, actually, I'm not sure you were there Sunday, but Eileen talked about not wasting time. And I felt like he was talking directly to me. And so I really took that to heart, and I realized, I'm doing the work, but I can do more. And so I don't want to waste any more time. So I'm using that time better. So no, I don't always sleep that well at night still, but I'm hoping that will change.
But I did hear you say that there was less panic, that after the soul journey, in terms of where your So some people will call themselves empaths, and to me, a person who's an empath is sitting at the end of a fire hose. They have no control over all the energy because they are so beautifully wired to be able to read energy, but that they have no control over it, have to take it all in. And that's one way of looking at it. I really prefer the word sensitive, because as a sensitive, I can see all of the energy around me and I can choose what I want to dance with, rather than feeling like I have to dance no matter what. And so I think that one of the things that that the soul journey does is it provides people who are sensitives, people who are watching what's taking place around them and wanting to make a difference, and able to read situations without having to have somebody exactly tell them what's going on. And it's not that they are manipulating or that they're mind readers, it's just how they are wired. And for those people to be able to have tools where they understand that these are gifts that they have, and to be able to move into spaces of using those gifts well, rather than feeling like they have to fix things for other people or that they have to do things for other people as a result of the information that they have. And so you also talked a little bit about green soul and blue soul. And I would love for you to share a little bit more for people who are brand new to the concept of those two words, just in your own words. What are those two things?
Absolutely. Well, a green soul is what I learned from Elaine and Danielle. It's what they call really your inner child. It's your accumulation of life experiences, maybe even things that you brought with you. And it's where your toxic emotions are. It's where your negative emotions are. It's really all life experiences. It's also out of where sickness will come from. And so that they refer to as the green soul, the inner child that created defenses, that created protection for you out of that developed behavioral patterns that you carry with you into adulthood. And the most enlightening thing about that for me was just that it's subconscious. Your body knows how to do these things so well that it's just habit, and you don't really recognize the triggers. And so actually, when I met Christy was one of the times where I started noticing a trigger. I didn't know what caused it, but I noticed that something happened. And that was the day that I met Christy. And it was pretty amazing for me and transformative. But that's the green soul. The green soul is just that, everything that you've accumulated. And it's when you slow down and stop to think about why do I feel this way? Why is this happening? I think when the light starts turning on. So your blue soul, of course, is your higher self. Your blue soul is your energetic being. It's the part of you that's not visible. It's the part of you that's connected to God. It's the part of you that's made in God's image. And ideally what you want is the integration of both of those, because both are who you are. So that's my words, that's the green soul and the blue soul.
So Kathy, I really appreciate you using your words to describe, because I so connect with your definitions of both of them. For me, the story that comes up for the running on autopilot just because is this old story of somebody getting ready to put a ham into a pan, and the pan's quite large, and the person is cutting off the ends and puts it into the pan. And so somebody's watching them do this and saying, well, why are you doing this? Well, that's how my mom did it. So after dinner's over, gets a hold of mom and says, well, why do we cut the ends of the ham off when we put it into the pan? And her mom says, I don't know, but grandma did it. So, that's that. And so, the person calls grandma, and the grandma says, well, the pan was too small. I had to cut the ends off to get it to fit in, right? And so we watch these behaviors, not necessarily knowing why they are doing, but yet we just continue on doing those behaviors. And some of them are so innocent, but some of them can become really toxic in suffering. And I completely believe that suffering is a choice. I know that can be very radical and a shocking truth for some people, but I do believe that suffering is a choice. And so in that process then of coming to the space of seeing the blue soul, seeing that we are created in the image of God, and noticing how that begins to shift the internal conversations that I'm having. So it's not about my self-worth, it's about my self-image. And those conversations with God then begin to open up that space for conversations between the green soul and the blue soul, and just to allow those conversations to come up for everybody to be heard, for all those different voices. And we will sometimes call them personalities. And at first I thought, I don't have a whole bunch of personalities. But when it was described to me as I have one personality or more when I'm a mom, I have one personality or more when I'm driving, I have one personality or more when I'm grocery shopping, I began to realize that yes, I do have a whole bunch of different personalities or different energies that show up inside of me, depending on the situation that I'm in, depending on if I'm feeling I have to protect, if I have to feel like, if that feeling comes up for me, there can often be so much more green soul, so much more just past this is how we do it stuff show up, rather than living by spirit, living in the moment. And so as you are continuing to process this, you talked about doing the septagram. Are these separate classes then, or are they, can you do septagram first and then do soul journey? What's the order? What's it about?
Soul journey is first, and you apply to that. And if you're accepted, then you get to go through that program. It's a 7-week program. Septagram is a program that follows. It's really, if you're going to pursue your life's work in service, it's a guidance toward putting you on that path if you're not already on the path, which I was not. And so it's teaching you really how to do that. And you have to do a lot of soul searching. I did really get into the conversations with God to find out what it is that you're meant to do. And Elaine and Danielle help you with that. They help you to have your breakthrough moments where you discover things about what your purpose is. What are you here to serve others? What do you have to offer that you're here to give? And I'm just one of those people that I had no idea what that would be. So it was quite a process, and it is quite a process. And so septagram is that. It's just walking you through that process and giving you the tools that you need to start serving other people.
So it really sounds like Ella and Danielle have looked at the education system that's out there, and they have said people are going through and paying chunks of money for degrees. However, they're not being taught how to learn. They're not being taught how to use their own personal gifts in so many different situations to be able to use that education to further the calling on their life.
Certainly it's not a priority.
Say again?
It's not a priority, no.
Right. And so it sounds like Ella and Danielle have developed ways and created tools or retooled tools to be able to allow people the freedom of having these tools that they use on a consistent basis, rather than I have a whole bunch of books. I love books. They're my friends. I love them, right? But rather than having a whole bunch of different books on a topic and taking a little bit out of each one if I feel like it, that they are providing for people who are serious about going internally and doing spiritual work, that they are providing tools that are actually lifelong tools that help an individual be able to not only connect in and have conversations with God, but actually then be able to ask God what the calling on their life is. Why are they here at this moment, in this time, in this situation? Why are they here? And what can they then help other people with? It sounds like that they are helping light workers help other light workers.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I really love about the programs, is that they teach you really how to be a light worker. What does it mean? And how to open that up within yourself, and to realize what's around us, that everything around us is the God body, is the love body, and that we're part of that. And if we're here, there's a reason that we're here. And to be able to flow, to channel, to be able to talk with your higher self and find out and get the wisdom, the all-knowingness that comes through that process, is just life-changing. So, and you get all this through the programs that I would never have found that. I don't believe I would ever have found that without having the teacher and the guidance. So it's pretty valuable.
I absolutely agree with you. I grew up in a beautifully religious home where the one that I call Papa was loved and served. My parents were missionaries. My father was an ordained minister. And at no point in my life did I feel like I had to follow in their footsteps, that I had to do what they did in order to get to heaven, whatever that happened to look like, right? I had truly remarkable parents. Went to college, got my minor in Bible. And so when I came to the soul journey, I thought that I had a pretty good idea of what I had a pretty good idea of. And it began to open up for me in such ways, not contradicting what I had learned, what I had lived a life of, what I had enjoyed learning, but so deeply empowered my morning quiet times in ways that I had been looking for, I had been searching for. And so I think part of the key for the people who are listening today on this episode of Social Dynamics is, if you are in a place that you have come from a religious background or not, but you are in a place where you are searching and knowing that there is more, I encourage you to reach out to find out more about the soul journey, because it truly is not about one religion or any religion. It truly is about each individual learning the tools to be able to have conversations with God in order for their best self to show up in the world for everybody. And what a world I'm envisioning as more people choose to go through the soul journey and choose to anoint the world with the light that they are. I think only good things can come out of that. Kathy, I'll give you the last word. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we finish today?
Well, you talked about their teachings a couple of times, and I was thinking, yeah, they have such a practical approach to it. The teachings out of the Bible are stories and things that I grew up with, but they're told in such a different way that you totally get it, and you can apply it to your life, and with a little twist. That was huge for me when I first started attending this transformative gathering. And I think that that's really what drew me in, was just that practicality of it, and just a better awareness of what Jesus was really doing on earth, and the role that he displayed for us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But I highly encourage people to attend the Sunday gathering and to check out Soul Journey. And it really has been life-changing for me, especially for those people who are, I mean, if you're searching, if you're looking for something, like I was, doing the best you can, but still not quite getting there, it's time for a teacher. It's time for some tools. It's time to be part of something that's really going somewhere and out to do something in the world that makes a difference. And that's what I'm getting from that.
I think that when I went through school, preschool all the way through, all the different degrees that I was taking and being given and feeding on and putting into my being that which other people thought were important for a citizen to learn, somebody to know, right? I really feel like the soul journey is me saying, I know how to read and write. I got that. I want to know how to learn so that I can learn the rest of my life and continue to move in a direction that provides growth, that is systematic, but that also is one building on the next, right? Scaffolding. So I'm not just building a little bit over here and then going over here a little bit and going right here, but that the pieces all fit together. And I think that the soul journey truly is the foundational piece that will allow people of any background to be able to have those tools for themselves to be able to apply at any other point in their life that they wish. So thank you so much for being on this episode. Kathy, it's been just so good to talk with you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I encourage the audience to subscribe if you'd like to have more content like this. There are a number more of light workers and spiritual thought teachers that we're going to be interviewing. And I just encourage you to continue this road with us. Thank you so much.